Hi everyone, hope you all are good. We are here for grade 8 math. So we're going to start with the chapter data analysis and probability. The lessons we're going to cover today are misrepresenting data, probability of the independent events, and problem solving involving independent events. So let's just start with the lesson. Okay, here we are. We're going to start the new chapter that is probability, data analysis, and probability. Just start with the next lesson. Okay. Choosing an appropriate graph we have done with the last in the last lesson. The next lesson is misrepresenting data. Let's just start with the lesson that is misrepresenting data. Okay. Okay, here is the practice questions. So let's just start with the question number 1. Question number 3. Okay, question number 3 is these graphs display the same data. Which graph is misleading? Why? Okay, so both the graphs have graph B is misleading, right? Because you can see the graph A is starting from 0, 50, 100, 150 and 200, and here it is 100. The origin of the circle is always 0 and 0, right? Because the because the scale starts at 100, and that makes every value greater than 4 times as much as collected by the, you can see this one, 125 meg is 125, rus is 200. If you start with 100 and you have 200, it would be 4 times as greater than the graph A, right? Okay, the next one is a grade 8 class in Vancouver was surveyed to find out where they would like to go for an end of year trip. The results were graphed by two students. Which impression does each graph give, and how is each graph misleading? Okay, let's just look at the graphs. We are given two graphs, graph A and graph B, right? Okay, graph A starts with 5, right? So that means graph A gives the impression that Stanley Park is most favored by most students to go, and graph B shows the students equally like you can see all the graphs are exactly equal, right, for the B. So that means the students equally like to go to three places, right? So the both graphs are misleading. The graph in the graph A, the scale starts at 5, right? That means the values is bigger than the other graph. So because it is start from 5, that means half of the students want to go to Stanley Park, right? And and the graph B is because here the scale is for 20 students, right? Which makes the impression that only small number of students want to go to 3 given places, right? So it would be better if one square represents just two students, right? You have to basically correct the graph. Also, the correct graph is the one in which just the scale of the graph would be one square and one square that represents the two students, right? You have to correct the scale also, and you have to start the values from 0. So the correct graph must have have a scale of one square that represents the two students, right? Okay. The next one is graph A and graph B display the Read Books company's profit for a 4-month period. Which conclusions are incorrect? The profit have tripled in 3 months. Okay, you are given with the conclusions, right? You have to see which conclusions are incorrect. The profit in March is double the profit in January. The profit in March about more than profit in January. The profit in April. Okay. Okay, let's just look at the profit. In January, it is 100 million. In February, it is more than 100 million. In March, it is, that means the profit in March is greater than the profit in January, right? And you can see the profit in April is also much greater than the profit in January. Okay, just look at the conclusions. The first one is the profit has tripled in 3 months. No, it is not tripled, right? It starts from 100 million in January, and in March it is still less than 125 millions, right? That means the profit is not tripled, right? Okay, the profit in March is double the profit in January. The profit in March, it would be 100 million, and in March, just look at this one. In January, it is 100 million, and in March, it is less than 110 million. So, no, not doubled, right? Okay, the profit in March is about 10 million more than the profit in January. Okay, the profit in March, it is 110 million, right? So 110 million and 100 million. In January, it is 100 million, and in March, it is 110 million, right? So when you subtract, the difference is 10 million. Yes, that means C is the correct one, right? Then D is the profit in April is 16 million, more than the profit in January. Okay, the profit in January is 100 million, and in April it is more than 115 million, right? So when you subtract 115 million out of the 100, it would be around 16 million. Yes, that means option number D is also the correct one, right? And graph A is also misleading because the scale never starts with 100, it must starts with 0, right? Okay, the next one is, let me just see. So many questions. Let me just skip some of them. Let's start with question number 7. The graph appears to show the Peggy's math marks drop greatly in the fourth term, right? What do you think? Maggie should be very concerned about this drop. Why or why not? Why changes could you make to the graph? These made data more accurately. Okay, the graph is from 86 to 96, right? Also, this is misleading. That means the scale of the graph is misleading, right? Because it is just from 86 to 89. Okay, the values starts from 91, goes to 94 and drop to 89, right? The drop is from 94 to 89, right? That isn't significant, right? Because just the marks are dropping from 94 to 89. Actually, the graph is misleading. You can see here the percentages are 86, 88, 90, 92, 94, right? Because data is not represented accurately. That is the reason. Got it? If you have any questions, you can please write down the questions in the chat box. Okay, let's start with question number 9. Four students conducted a four students conducted a science experiment to see who could grow the tallest plant over a given period of time. The pictograph shows the result. Whose plant grew the most? Okay, one, basically the one plant represents 2 centimeter, right? So it would be then 1, 2, 3, 4. It would be 8 centimeter. It would be, you can see the change in the symbols of sizes. I cannot decide whether it is 2 or 4 because you can see these two and this one equal. I think the data is misleading. Let's just look at the questions, then we'll decide what we have to do. Who whose plant grew the most? We cannot decide because the data is represented inaccurately, right? You can see the difference of the sizes also. How does the graph misrepresent these data? You can see there's symbol, the height of the symbol is 2 centimeter, but you can see you have, according to 2 centimeter, the Cathy's plant grows higher, right? That would be 8 centimeter. The C part is, how could the graph be changed to represent the data accurately? Because the sizes of the symbols are not equal, so that means they are misleading the reader. So to accurately display the data, change the size of all the symbols to a uniform size, right? Do you think Kathy drew the spectrograph? Why or why not? The graph is incorrect. Kathy already has the tallest plant and there is no need for Kathy to mislead other people, right? Because the graph is made by Kathy already have 8 centimeter, right? Okay, let's just start with question number. This graph was used by a sales manager at a dust destroyer vacuum cleaner sales company. She said that sales had increased greatly in 5 years. The table shows the actual data. How is the graph misleading? Just look at the graph. Because the graph is slanted, right? Making it looks like the data points from the left much smaller than the data points in the right. They could be start from like this. They could start from a straight line. These bars could start from a straight line, right? Okay, the question is, how is the graph misleading? Because the graph is slanted, that means the graph is misleading, right? What changes do you make to the graph to display these data? So to create a bar graph that is accurately displaying the given data, do not draw a graph that is slanted. Always start from the same line, right? You can make them like this. Hold on. You can make them like this. The bars would be like this, not slanted, right? This is the changes you have to make on this graph. Okay. Okay, let's just start with question number 14. The graph show how two students spend their allowances. From these graph, a student concluded that Mark spends more money on movies than Tina does. From the graphs, can you tell which students spend more money on the movies? Why or why not? Okay, movies. Here it is. Who can see more? Just look at the graph carefully, right? The portion for graph A, the portion for movies in graph A is greater than graph B. That means Mark spend more money on the graph, on the movies, right? But circular graph is about displaying a percentage or a fraction of a whole. So with just by looking at the graph, you cannot tell who spends more money on the movies, right? B is, which type of graph could you use to display these types of data accurately? Basically, you're going to compare two values, right? Whenever the comparison is involved, you have to use the double bar graph. This data would be represented by the double bar graph, right? Okay. Question number 6. Draw a graph to show how the data in the table below can be displayed in each way. The pizza submarine is by far the most popular sandwich. About an equal number of each type of submarine are sold already. Okay, question number 16 is you have to make a graph, right? Okay, let's just start with the next lesson. The next lesson is probability of independent events. Okay, two events are independent events when one event does not affect the other event, right? These are the two independent events. Okay, let's just start with the practice questions. Let me see how many questions do we have. 15 questions. Okay, so many questions. Okay, let's start with question number 3. A spinner has a spinner has two congruent sectors colored blue or green. The pointer spins once and a coin is tossed. Find the probability of each event. Blue and tails, blue or green and head. Okay, so the outcome of both the events does not affect, right? That means the events are independent. If you spin the spinner and you toss a coin, they are two different events. So they are independent events, right? Let's just calculate the probability of A. Probability for blue and tails. You have just two colors on the spinner, blue and green. So the probability for each of them is half. Also for the coin, you have just two outcomes, head or tail. So the probability for head and the probability of tail would be half, right? The probability of blue is 1 out of 2, and also the probability of tail is 1 out of 2. So you have to calculate probability of blue and tail. You have to actually multiply both the probabilities, right? You have to multiply the probability of blue and multiply by probability of tails, right? So it would be 1 over 2 times 1 over 2, that would be 1 over 4, right? So the probability of blue or tails is 1 over 4. Now you have to do the next B part is the probability of blue or green and head. Okay, blue or green. Probability of blue or green would be, so you have total two outcomes, right? And 2 out of 2 means 1. And the probability of head is same as probability of tail because you have the chance to get the head 50%. It would be 1 over 2. So this is the A part, and then the B part is probability of blue or green or head. Probability of blue or green is 1 and head is 1 over 2, so it would be 1 over 2, right? So the probability of blue or green or head is 1 over 2. If you have any questions, you can please write down the questions in the chat box. I can answer all your questions. Okay, let's start with question number 4. Stanley has two sets of three cards face down on a table. Each set contains the two of hearts, the five of diamonds, and the eight of clubs. He randomly turns over one card from each step. Find the probability of each event. Both cards are red. Okay, the first one is you have to calculate the probability of both cards red. So you can see you have total 3 cards, right? That means the probability of red is 2 out of 3. Sorry. The probability of red card is 2 out of 3 because you have total 3 cards and out of the 3, 2 of them are red, right? But A is both cards are red, right? Both cards are red means that is the A part. Probability of both cards are red. It means 2 by 3 times 2 by 3. This is the probability of red card one time, right? So you this is the probability of red card another time. So it would be 4 over 9, right? Okay, the B part is the first card is red and the second card is blue. So you have to calculate the probability of red card. For B part, you have to calculate probability of red card and the probability of, sorry. Okay, so it would be probability of red card. We know that the probability of red card is 2 by 3. Let's just calculate the probability of blue card only. Black, sorry, not blue. Because we already have red probability of red card. Probability of black card is you have only one card black out of 3, it would be 1 over 3. So then the B part is probability of blue, sorry, red and black, not blue. Red and black. You have to multiply the probability of red card and the probability of black card would be 1 over 3 times 2 over 3. That would be 2 over 9, right? Okay, let's just see the C part. Both the cards are even number. That means 2 and 8 are even, right? So you have only the probability is probability of both cards are even. So the probability of even is you have two of the cards are even, right? So for the first time even is 2 by 3. For the second time it is also 2 by 3. So it would be 4 over 9. Okay, the next one is the sum of the numbers is greater than 8. Okay, the cards you have are 2, 5 and 8. So 2 plus 5 makes 7 and 2 plus 8 makes 10. That means it would be 2 and 8, 5 and 8. The sum of numbers is greater than 8. That means you have to select the card that are probability of 2 and probability of 8 because 2 and 8 makes the sum that is greater than 8, right? Hold on. D part. probability of 2 and probability of 8, because 8 plus 2 makes 10. Probability of 2 is 1 by 3, probability of 8 is 1 by 3, it makes 1 over 9, right? Then probability of 5 plus probability of 8, because 8 plus 5 is greater than 8 plus 5 is greater than 8, right? Probability of 5 is 1 over 3 and 8 is either 8 or either 5, right? Because both the numbers can make the sum greater than 8. So it would be 2 over 3. So that means they are 2, sorry, you have to multiply them, 2 over 9, right? Then you have probability of 5 plus the probability of 2 or 5 or 8. It would be 1 over 3 and 3 over 3, so that makes 1 over 3. So you have to add the sum of all the cards is 8. It would be 1 over 9 plus 2 over 9 plus 1 over 3. So that equals 2 over 3, right? So the correct option is 2 over 3. Okay, now I'm going to skip question number 5. Let's just start with question number 6. Find the probability of each event. The pointer lands on a blue spotted sector, then a solid red sector. Blue spots is just one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. 1 out of 10. The first one is the probability the pointer lands on blue spotted sector, then solid red sector. Question number 6a. Let's just calculate probability of blue spots and probability of solid red, right? So blue spots is 1 over 10 and I think red is 3 over 10, right? Solid red is 3 over 10. 1 over 10 and solid red is 3 over 10. So then the probability of blue spots and solid red, you have to multiply both the probabilities, right? It would be 1 over 10 times 3 over 10. That would be 3 over 100, right? That is for the what you have to do. Okay. Now, the second one is the pointer lands on a red sector, then a spotted sector, right? The red sector is you don't have any red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you have not solid. You're not talking about the solid red. So the probability of red is 5 over 10. Then a spotted sector. Spotted are 1, 2, 3. Right? Probability of spotted is 3 over 10. So when you multiply them, probability of red or spotted, it would be 5 times 3 is 15 over 100. Right? The pointer lands on a stripped sector, then a solid blue. Stripped sector. How many stripped? 1, 2, 3. 3 of them are stripped. So probability of stripped is 3 over 10. And the probability of solid blue is 1 over 10. When you multiply, it makes 3 over 100. Right? Okay, you can do the same part by yourself. You have to do the same thing. Let's just move on to next one. Let's start with question number 8. An experiment consists of a rolling a die labeled 3 to 8 and picking a card at random from a standard deck of playing cards. What is the probability of event? Rolling a 6 and picking a spade, not rolling a 4 and picking an ace. Okay, they are the independent events, right? Because you're rolling a die and picking a card. So they are independent events. So the card is labeled from 3 to 8. You have to calculate probability of 6 and picking a spade. Probability of 6 is 3 to 8, 1 over 6, right? Then the probability of spade is, you have 13 cards spade out of 52, right? It would be 1 over 4. So the probability of 6 or spade is, the total cards in deck is 52, right? And 13 of them are spade, so it would be 13 over 52, right? So they are 1 by 6 times 1 by 4, that is 1 over 24, right? Okay, the B part is not rolling a 4 and picking an ace. So if you are not rolling a 4, that you means you are rolling other 5 numbers, right? Probability of not 4 would be 5 over 6, because other than 4 you have 5 options. But the probability of ace is, the total cards are 52, 4 of them are ace, it would be 1 over 13. So you have to multiply the probability of not 4 or ace. So let's just multiply them, it would be 5 over 6 times 1 over 13. It would be 5 over 78, right? Okay, the next one is, use a tree diagram. Okay, what is the probability of picking the ace of spades and rolling a 5? So rolling a 5 is 1 over 6, right? And ace of spade is 1 over 52. The probability of 5 is, probability of 5 is 1 over 6, and the probability of ace of spades is just 1, right? You have one ace of spades, so it would be, the probability of 5 or ace of spades is 1 over 6 times 1 over 52. That would be, 6 times 2 is 12 and 5 is 30. It would be 1 over 312, right? Okay, I think we'll do the rest of the questions in the next session, right? We did till question 8. Let me just note it down, because I think from the last session I also forgot. I am doing something. Mm, okay, grade 8. Which lesson is it? It is, probability of independent events, right? And we have to start with probability of independent events, or we have to start with question 9. Start from question 9. right? We have done till 8. So we have start with question number 9 in the next session, right? Okay. So we have done 1.5, like one complete lesson and one half lesson. If you have any questions, this one we can do in the next session, right? Misrepresenting data and probability of independent events. So if you have any question, you can please ask. I am here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. Please, before the next session, make sure you can do the questions I skip. At least you have to try them on your own, right? So please write down the questions in the chat. No questions. So no questions. Okay, then that's all for today. See you in the next session. Bye everyone.